Welcome to the Vernon Hills Update. The update offers information about a variety of village services. You'll meet a few of your neighbors and you'll find out about upcoming events. On today's show, we'll visit the newly remodeled Lakeview Fitness Center and check out some of the facilities and programs available through the Vernon Hills Park District. We'll review Illinois' new no cell phone law while driving, which took effect January 1st. We'll talk with Public Works Director Dave Brown about the village's snow and ice preparations. We'll drop by Thera Pediatrics, a Vernon Hills organization that offers a wide variety of therapy options for children. And we'll sit down with Village Manager Mike Allison about his career, his community, and his plans for retirement. If you have comments or suggestions, please contact Mike Storto at 847-918-3560 or email mikes@vhills.org. Thank you for tuning in to the Vernon Hills Update.
We are at the Vernon Hills Park District Lakeview Fitness Center, and isn't it beautiful in here? It's been about a year since we first started talking to these gentlemen about the whole Park District YMCA situation. We're back with Mike Allison, our village manager, and Jeff Fougeroux, the executive director of the Park District, and what a difference a year makes, because I think it was last year at about this time, we were trying to figure out what was going to happen because the Y had announced that they were closing. Who wants to address how that history played out?
Well, if you go way back, Mayor Byrne and some of the board members got real involved with the original financing of the Y, this building, the YMCA that is here, I should say. And then when we found out sometime in September of last year, in 2012, that the Y was leaving and there was a possibility that the building would go dark, and then, just the whole idea of, can we use it for something else? And that was the gestation of the whole idea that the Park District would get involved and have would become a beautiful recreation facility for the community.
Well, and it really was a cooperative effort on a really short time frame, because I remember there was a little bit of panic in the community. There were, people trying to figure out what to do with childcare and what was going to happen, but you guys worked together.
Right, and that was we had, I don't know, 3-4 meetings, joint meetings. It was it was fun. It was stressful but fun. A great experience working together and identifying a goal. And the goal was to create a first-class recreation facility for the community and working with the Park District to own it and operate it. So we were able to lend them the money from the village's reserves, and they were able to put together a plan. And New Year's Day, right? This year, you guys opened. So, and that was a fast turnaround. And usually, a lot of times government doesn't move too quickly. Well, that time we all moved very quickly, and this is the result.
And when we talk about fast turnaround, because then we came back in, I think it was February of 2013, and we were over here. You were just starting the painting. You said you had to do new roof. You had to get some new stuff in the fitness rooms. You were doing all this stuff. It's done, because as of November, you had your grand reopening.
Yeah, I think a year ago where we were at, and it was probably more than 3 or 4 meetings that we had between both our boards. It was probably more like 8 or 10. But today we're putting a couple of rooftop units on over our child care facility, and that should pretty much complete all the improvements. We've spent close to $1 million by the time everything was said and done, in addition to the acquisition that the village was so kindly offered up. But you see the results. It's amazing to us to see the amount of membership that has now taken this on as a community fitness facility. And that's what we really are trying to preach to people that not only live in Vernon Hills, but even in some of our surrounding communities. It's very price conscious. It's a facility that's very service driven, very low key, but very inviting. And that was one of the things that we wanted to make certain with our design team when we hired them that, one, that as soon as they walked in the door, they felt just a comfort zone of being in an open environment, but yet secure as well. We've seen since January 1 when we opened, we had a little over 11 or 1,200 members to now, as of today, we have 2,900 members. So in less than a year, that's, you know, we've more than doubled our membership, and I think it's just, with little or no marketing, it's just become kind of word of mouth within the community that we're, you know, we're a good facility for people to come in and just get a workout at a reasonable price.
Well, and as we were waiting to tape, everybody was coming by and giving you pats on the back, all of you, for getting this done, and they like the facility, they like the programs, they like everything about it. So, I mean, kudos for you. Like you said, government moved really fast on this one, and it's beautiful in here.
And I think all the elected officials working together, that was amazing. When you think of it, there's, you know, between the groups, 12 elected officials, and scrambling to put those meetings together, setting up agendas, saying, we're going to do this, this is important for the community, and then getting it done. And we met with the people from the Y, we met with, financial people, architects,
Attorneys.
you name it.
Too much.
Yeah, I didn't want to mention them.
Yeah.
But a lot of attorneys. So, yeah, that was the challenge and the exciting part for me to start. And then for Jeff, the excitement continued.
Yeah, you have had, because like I said, to do all those things, you talked about roof, AC, I know you had some issues that had to be resolved just for the safety of regulations and everything. So it wasn't like, would we like to? You had to do all these things. Can you like run through some of the stuff? And this is a full-service area. You've got the indoor pool, you've got the whirlpools, you've got the fitness, and you've got upgrades in the weight rooms and stuff too, I understand.
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, obviously, we wanted to identify the programming needs of trying to get membership to grow. But before we did that, through our assessment period, which occurred mostly in the month of November of 2012, we had some structural issues that we had to address, roofing issues we had to address. So those we got in like right away and had to get that taken care of. But you know, the rest is kind of cosmetic things. We knew we had to expand our free weight and our cardio area. We've done that. Our group exercise area has expanded. We were running roughly, just to give you an example, we were running about 12 classes a week of fitness-related exercise classes, mostly at Sullivan. We're now running 72 classes a week. So adding 60 classes is just, it's just immeasurable. Obviously adding about 40% more square footage in our cardio and free weight area, dividing those two entities, that's been really helpful. We're doing some preliminary drawings now with looking at some redesign of our locker rooms. The hot area I'd like to refer to, which is the whirlpool, the sauna, the steam room, that was completely revamped. We had to do some new tile work in there. Get, once again, just some safety issues in the ceiling, in the structural area. We completely retiled the swimming pool. So we drained that and did a whole, team came in and they regrouted the whole pool, and we've got new lighting throughout the facility, video surveillance system throughout the facility, a lot of new HVAC systems, so it's more comfortable. So yeah, a lot of things, and we still continue that. We got some things, we got some parking issues that we're going to have to address because of the expansion. And we're
That's a
seeing
good kind of problem.
It's a good problem, but you know, at the same time, you know, it's going to, you know, be a little invasive in how we decide to go forward with getting additional public parking.
Well, and we talk about the Park District. You had some programs here that you took over that you're known for. You're known for your preschool and your child care, and you're known for the after-school enrichment classes and all those things. Park District basketball, the list goes on and on. Those things are still in place. You just added to your plate.
Yeah, and I think this facility adds to that. Like, we didn't have an indoor swim program, and now we've got a swim team, our Turtle swim team, which is 100 kids strong, is doing fantastic. We've got an outstanding Learn to Swim program where we're being able to teach kids how to swim year-round, not only in our outdoor facility, but now indoors here. And we're accommodating anywhere from 300 to 400 kids. So that's a great benefit. The child care area, you know, we've got a DCFS licensed child care facility that, in my opinion, is second to none. You can look at all the private facilities in the area. We're very community-based. We're extremely affordable. We're open 12 hours a day, 5 days a week. I mean, we literally only close on major holidays. We've got certified staff on board, educated staff on board, and just, you know, it's one of those kind of what I think is a hidden gem in the community, and just trying to encourage people to come in and just check us out. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised, and that's something that we're going to spend a lot of time in 2014 to market a little bit better and try and get people in.
Well, you haven't had really time to market. You were just taking care of business all the way through. And as we talk about other things going on, not just here, and there's a lot of deals you can have available, check in with these guys. Matt, your facility supervisor, always says, come in and we'll help you check it out. So somebody's here to take you through, make sure you know what's going on, make sure if you need a train or whatever you need. But you also have stuff coming up. I want to remind people, for as you're watching this in January, the Sled Hill, we hope, is open. The Warming House, that beautiful place over at Century Park, should be open. You're going to have Winterfest coming up on January 18th. So there's a lot of stuff people can do, whether it's here, swimming indoors, fitness indoors, or outside. You got just we've got tremendous park facilities.
Yeah, I think, you know, the outdoor winter activities is obviously centered around Century Park North with the Sled Hill, with the outdoor ice rink that has skating available whenever the weather. Obviously, we would encourage people to just call our hotline and find out to make sure it's open. But we have free skates available in all sizes and shapes for every weekend. So Saturdays and Sundays, you know, all you gotta do is show up at the pavilion there at Century Park at the north end. We've got an attendant on. They can provide that. We have snacks and hot chocolate, all included. And this year we've added outdoor sound system, so you got some nice music that you can skate to as well.
I think we know what we're going to do when it gets cold, Mike Allison,
Yeah.
in your free time. So.
And the January 18th date, which is our second Winterfest, is we've got some sled dogs coming in and some different ice sculpting demonstrations and a lot of activities centered around, just themed around snow and ice in the wintertime. So we hope, you know, we get a little bit of snow and some cold weather on that day. The rest of the winter you can have.
Yeah, just one day. We just want one day that's cold, a little bit of sledding.
We like to have a little colder weather so people would enjoy the ice rink. It's really a nice rink. I mean, it's almost a regulation size hockey rink, so there's a lot to do out there.
Well, a lot to do through the Park District. If you want to find out more, call over here. Stop over to 700 Lakeview Parkway at the Lakeview Fitness Center. Go online. You can learn all about the programs that are available. And just, I mean, we are so lucky in this community to have this as one of our public entities. And thanks to you guys and to your volunteers and to your boards for working together on that. And I know that's got to be kind of a feather in your cap for as you get ready to say goodbye here.
Goodbye.
Well, you know what I'm saying.
You know, I mean, Mike has been great to work with. He's been a great colleague. I think the village is really fortunate to have Mike as their village manager. I know he's been really very humble about his retirement coming up at the end of January, but from another public servant, if you will, having been in this business for over 30 years and worked with several village managers and some of my prior experiences, Mike is top-notch. And the village of Vernon Hills is very fortunate to have him for the last 15 years. And, you know, Mike, on behalf of the Park District, we wish you nothing but the best success and very happy and healthy.
Thank you.
You and your wife.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you both for taking the time. Thank you for all you did together to make sure this happened, to all the people that were involved. It's been an exciting year. Thank you for, as you go off now, you'll have more time to see the sled dogs and go skating.
That's right. There's plenty to do every day. I can.
You don't have time to work. You must be retired so you can enjoy all this. And thank you to you and your staff at the Park
Thank you, Lynn.
District. Thank you.
Thank you.
Go online. Make sure that if you're thinking about any of these programs, think about the Park District first. They're right here in town. Thank you all.
Thanks.
Hello again. This is Kim Christensen with the Vernon Hills Police Department's Crime Prevention Unit. You're watching this, it's probably the month of January. Well, that means January 1st was when the new electronic communication law took effect for drivers. Well, let's just call it a cell phone law. For all practical purposes, that's what it is. What the new law means is that you are not allowed to use a handheld electronic communication device while you're driving. It's as simple as that. However, built into the law are several exceptions to it. And we can talk about some of those right now. The biggest exception is, of course, in an emergency situation. You are allowed as a driver to use an electronic communication device for the sole purpose of reporting an emergency situation and continuing that communication with the emergency personnel during the situation. In other words, you just don't have to hang up once you call 911. If the telecommunicator at the other end of the line asks you to stay on the line to keep her or him aware of what's going on, that is certainly legal to do. Another exception is if you're using the device in hands-free or voice-operated mode. And that includes the use of a headset. Something you should keep in mind is that under Illinois law, the headset must be single-sided. In other words, one ear only. A third exception I want to talk about is using the device while you're parked on the shoulder of the roadway. Of course, you're out of traffic. And that's the purpose of this whole law, was to keep it safer on the roadways. Another exception is using the device when the vehicle is stopped due to traffic being obstructed and the vehicle is in neutral or park. And finally, the exception I want to mention also is using the device. You can use the device if you press a single button to initiate a conversation or to terminate a conversation. So what this means, if a police officer sees you holding onto that phone, either talking into it because it's in speaker mode, or certainly having it up to your ear, or pressing a lot of buttons, or texting, or anything like that, you're going to get a ticket. So please, it's going to be a very difficult change for a lot of people, but the law is in effect. So please do your best. We don't want to see anybody get injured. We don't want to see anybody get killed. And we don't want you to get a ticket either. Well, if you have any questions, give me a call. You can call me at 847-247-4889. You can go to our website, too, at vhpd.com, where we have a summary of the law, just as I read it to you now. And also on the website is a link to the state's website, which has the entire law word for word. Well, that's it for now. Thank you very much for your cooperation, and please be safe.
Well, winter is coming, whether you're one that likes it or you're one that doesn't. And the people over here at the Public Works Department, they're pretty non-committal. They know it's coming one way or another. We're with Public Works Director Dave Brown to talk about how they're getting ready for snow and ice and all the other stuff that comes with it, as well as what we can do to make sure we're in good shape ourselves. So thanks for taking the time for the annual snow story, our most exciting story of the year.
Absolutely. Look forward to this every year.
And we try to do it bigger and better every year. So, well, right now we're out with all your trucks. The guys have got everything hooked up and ready to go. So it looks like you're ready. You got salt in the bins. You got everything ready?
Yeah, we're here pre-Christmas. We've already been out for one event. It wasn't a snowstorm. It was a trace of snow, but it was a condition that we were having rain event and we knew it was going to freeze, so it was a good opportunity to get some of our new drivers in the trucks more familiar with their routes, and so we've already been out once this year salting the roads.
And when we talk about what you guys do, we do see the trucks out before there's like an accumulation. You guys are like, you've got some trucks that are putting some spray down. Can you tell people what you're doing there?
Yeah, we have a series of tools that we use. One is anti-icing, so you may see some streaks along the roadway, and you're wondering what that is. That's because we go out and we pre-treat the roads before the storm, and that buys us a little more time while people are mobilizing and before they get out, so it helps buy us a little more time before the storm actually hits.
Okay, so that's a pre-treatment. What are you putting down? It's not water.
It's a solution of salt and water. It's called a brine.
Okay, all right, so that's what the trucks are doing when you see those strips on the road. And as you said, you go out not just when there's snow, you have to be watching everything all the time, but snow is one of your big events, and you said last year we had a pretty decent amount of snow.
Yeah, last year it was 32.5 inches of snow that we had in Vernon Hills. But that's only part of the story. In terms of the events of snow plowing, we do plow snow, but because we're in the freeze-thaw belt, a lot of times we're out dealing with more icing conditions and salting to try to avoid icy conditions on the roadway so the motorists can make it to and fro.
Well, and I know you started talking about the tools you have. We mentioned ice. You've got big bins of, salt. You've got big bins of salt out in the hoppers, and you're all stocked with that. You've got your brine solutions. You've got everything ready to go. I know a few years back we had trouble getting salt. Is that the case, or you're all good?
We have all of our bins full. We have 3 different bins of 400-ton capacity each, so we have 1,200 tons. To put that in perspective, last year we used 1,276 tons of salt, so basically we have a full year's supply of salt waiting for the winter to start.
Yeah, and it wasn't like those years where I know everybody was scrambling because however salt was coming in, it was really expensive. Is that the case now?
Those days of people scrambling trying to find salt because the lake system was frozen, well in excess of $100. People were paying $130 per ton. Last year our pricing was $64 per ton. This year it's actually down. We're at $61.14 per ton. So we have a plentiful supply of salt, and it's at a better rate than before. And again, we also try the pre-treatment, and that helps reduce the actual use of salt. And so we try some pre-treatment, some other approaches, so we don't have to put down as much salt as we have in the past.
And you have drivers who are working here from Public Works Department, but you also work with contractors for certain areas.
Yeah, we have our Public Works staff as the main support, but we also rely on contractors. The cul-de-sacs are more difficult given our larger pieces of equipment, so we contract out. The largest one is with James Martin and Associates. They help us with 105 different cul-de-sacs in town and tackle those. We also work with some homeowners associations that, while they're taking care of their townhome driveways and they push their snow in one direction and then we come by and we push it in the other direction, we work with them and contract with them, and one person is in charge of that operation, and it's more seamless.
Excellent. So that's to keep in mind if you're frustrated with something. Your guys are working as fast as they can. The contractors are working as fast as they can. We also have to remember there's a lot of main roads that go through our town that aren't your responsibility. You've got some of the county roads and the state roads and things like that.
Yeah, the highway system's classified. There's IDOT, there's Lake County Department of Transportation. The IDOT roads are the ones with the numbers of Route 60, 45, and 21. And then Butterfield Road, LDOT helps us with that as it's a county road.
But I know you guys get out there. If there's a real problem, you guys are big on pitching in. So.
Yeah, we help support one another. At times, certainly the larger storms, we do go out into the intersections and try to help support them and pull some of the snow away from those intersections. Sometimes we can get there earlier than them. They have a lot of miles to deal with also, so we try to help one another.
Well, and let's talk about what we can do to help, because one thing is, you talked about you push the snow one way and here comes the plow and it goes another way. You have a very simple suggestion for which way we throw the snow in our own driveways.
Yeah, I have my own house. I shovel my own driveway. I know that if I put it on, I know which way the travel lane is. So from when I look at my driveway, I know if I put it on the near side, that snow may end up in my driveway again. So I try to put it on the downside of the travel lane, and so I know when our plows come through, it'll push it back into the curb, and it won't put it back into the roadway.
Well, some of that just can't be helped. And I know you'll be out there shoveling, and it feels so bad when you just worked and then it goes in there. I know your drivers don't like that either. They've got to do the same thing at their house.
Yeah, it's wet, it's heavy, no one wants to move it. We try to do our best. we try to get through and really open up the streets for residents to make it home. And sometimes when they make it home, we know it's frustrating that there is a windrow there. It's very difficult for us to stop and hit every driveway with our plow. We wouldn't be able to get through the overall village, and so there's some compromises there.
When we talk about hitting the driveway, hitting the mailbox is another thing. And sometimes it isn't that the plow hits the mailbox, but the snow load is so heavy. So if somebody does have a problem with that.
Yeah, we have a policy in terms of mailboxes and mailbox replacements. We certainly don't fund replacement of the nicer mailboxes. We have a policy on that. In terms of the mailboxes, we do go out in the fall, identify the condition of each individual mailbox, and notify the homeowner of conditions of that. And the snow is heavy, especially last year. We had a real mild winter, and then at the end of the year, it really was a wet snow, and it came time and time again. That wet snow, when it's pushed off of our plow blade, does hit the mailbox, and it's heavy, and the forces will push over mailboxes, twist them, and cause a lot of carnage. So we try to reduce that, and so just bear with us.
Well, let's talk about, in addition, it's good sense to get off the streets when there's any kind of, whether it's snow or ice or something, so you guys can clean. But there's an ordinance too. People have to keep this in mind. They will get ticketed if you're parked out on the street in certain conditions.
Yeah, there's an ordinance, there's police enforcement, but really I think it just comes down to common sense. If the cars are not there, it's easier for us to plow and perform our operations. If a car is there, sometimes we have to work our way around it, and then we might not make it back to tackle that area, and so then they have snow on the street right in front of their house. And so we just ask for everyone to help each other out. Don't have their cars prior to a storm. Typically it's a 2-inch storm that we're out plowing, and so any help there. Also, neighbors, in terms of plowing, shoveling your sidewalk wherever possible. If you could help your neighbors by doing that service, certainly your neighbors and the neighborhood kids appreciate that.
Exactly. There's the bus stops and that. Sometimes that pile of snow gets pretty high, so if we can keep the bus stops open, the walkways open, so people can get around, very good. And I know Countryside Fire likes us to shovel out those hydrants. Makes sense too.
Yeah. Once again, it's a village. We all play a role. Certainly, if there's a fire hydrant right across the street from my house, I do help out with that because I know it's important. If there's a fire in our neighborhood and the fire department needs to get there, it'd be a shame that they had to shovel that out to do their operations to help save, life and property.
Well, and one more thing about being safe. I know the plows are huge. The drivers are very skilled, but still they don't handle like a tiny car. And so you always have a request for drivers and for parents to tell their kids to be real careful around the plows.
Yeah. I've been in the vehicles before where I see that kids are making snow forts out into the roadways. So, we just ask for the parents to be aware of that, the kids to be aware of that. Our drivers don't know what's underneath the snow at times. It could cause a hazardous situation. So any support with that's appreciated.
Okay, let's all be careful and help you guys get your job done. I hope it's a mild winter. I hope we don't see the trucks out too much, but I know you guys are prepared, and that's great. And I know there's more information, so if you did have questions or if people wanted to find out, situations with, how is the work being done or my mailbox or this and that, they can get a hold of you guys.
Yeah. If there are any input that we need to receive, we're available via the website. We're available by phone. Give us a call. We're going to try to do our best. Hopefully we don't have a real impact this winter, but we know living in this area that it's going to come at some point.
Well, thank you for taking the time. Thanks to all your guys for getting ready for the winter season. And like we said, let's hope it's a smooth one. So thank you. Well, we are at a very happy warm, loving place here in Vernon Hills. We're at Therapediatrics, which is over on Fairway Drive near the high school. We're with the owner, the founder. Linda Silber is the brains behind this and the love behind this operation. Well, and we've come to talk about what exactly is going on over here, because this is a very well-loved place. I can see by the looks of the parents and the kids that come in. Linda, you've been an occupational therapist for quite a while. How long did you say?
42 years.
Okay, very nice. Yeah. So you're very experienced.
I'm seasoned.
Yes,
I like to say that.
Yes.
I'm seasoned.
Well, and then how about Therapediatrics? This is your baby, so to speak. When did you start this?
Well, I started off as a rehab therapist for adults, and I've done all different kinds of things in my life. And then once my kids were in school, I needed a better schedule that would work. So I went into pediatrics and the school system, because then I could spend more time with my kids, and eventually ended up doing private clinical work and found that I live in this area very close. I'm only 6 minutes away. And there really wasn't anything up in this area that could satisfy some of the needs that I felt were happening to some of the kids in the area. So we opened this actually almost 12 years ago in January. And I wasn't interested in creating something that would grow into several different places. I just wanted a clinic where there would be really good therapy practice going on, and the kids were first and foremost, as it is in most clinics. But unfortunately, money wasn't my motivator. I might want to change my mission statement on that one, but
when you talk about it, because your primary focus is the children, pediatric end of Therapediatrics, and I know one of your visions is it has to do with play.
Always. It always has to do with play. If a child doesn't buy into what you're going to be doing, they're just going to fight you the whole time. So very often kids come in and the parents are worried, and that the kids are sometimes worried they're going to end up getting shots here or something. They think it's a doctor's office. And sometimes the first thing that we work on is just self-confidence and self-esteem, because until a child can really trust a therapist, they aren't going to be willing to be challenged. And then we want them to feel safe in the environment, that they are willing to try things that they might fail at, that a therapist can help them with.
Well, what are some of the things that children are coming in here for help with, and what are the things parents can think about that you can help with?
Well, sometimes it's just something as simple as, although nothing simple ever, a fracture, dislocation, something where an orthopedist feels that additional rehab therapy is needed for something that's a short-term fix. And then we see kids that have neurological disorders and orthopedic disorders, things like muscular dystrophy, cerebral palsy, could be something like ADD, ADHD, sensory disorders, genetic disorders, kind of run the whole spectrum of what kids experience in either a long-term or short-term therapy needs.
Okay, and does a person need a referral to come here?
They don't necessarily need a referral to start or get an evaluation. We certainly do need a prescription from a doctor, but very often we have free screenings, and so lots of times parents who just have a feeling that there's something wrong, we'd like them to come in and we can kind of just discuss with them what their concerns are and whether or not we feel an evaluation is warranted after talking to them and talking to the kids. It's usually a short 15 to 20 minute conversation where we can, and that's free of charge, where we can kind of get an idea of what their needs are.
So like if a parent was at home and I have a toddler, I have a youngster, I have a question, you could give a call, come over here, have a quick meeting for free, and you could give some expert advice.
Yes,
there.
always for that. Okay. We get our referrals from pediatricians, psychologists, psychiatrists. Sometimes there are needs that a school is unable to supply the additional help that a child would need. They won't necessarily say that they should go to a private clinic, but parents themselves feel that maybe they want some extra help for their child.
Okay. So this is a good place, whether it's the full support system or some extra help to go along with what they're getting through school. Well, and you have several therapists here, so you've got people, it sounds like it's convenient. You've got a lot of people working in all the different therapy rooms you have here.
We have OT, PT, speech, and that's like occupational therapy, physical therapy, speech therapy, behavioral health. We have counseling. Some of my therapists have been here for over 11 years, and our therapists have a tremendous amount of experience. The majority of our therapists have over 12 to 15 years of experience. So, and some of us, unfortunately, have not maybe 42, but certainly in the 20-year range. So we're all seasoned therapists, and we've all had a lot of experience with adults as well as kids. And so it's a very eclectic approach to therapy.
And when we talk about what's available here too, I know you pride yourself on the partnerships that you bring in to the organization, both for the convenience of the parent, you don't have to go further, but also to make sure the child is getting the best service possible. And one of those groups is the Midwest Orthotic Group that is here working with you. And can you tell us a little bit about that partnership?
Well, very often we'll have to use outside sources that we refer parents to, and I take that really seriously. I mean, I have interviewed psychologists for 45 minutes on the phone just to see whether it's a good mix for the kids that we have here. We also, in terms of talking about partnerships, I feel that we're partners with the parents, and we try and do our problem solving with them in terms of setting up goals and everything. I sometimes have parents, I always ask a parent, is there anything special you want me to work on today? And they'll go, well, you should know what you're working on. And it's like, well, I know what I want to work on, but tell me how things are going at home, and is there anything that happened in the last week that we should really focus on today? So we do have partnerships with other people in the community, and Midwest has been just wonderful because they come here in their van, and Brian, who is the orthotist that we work with, is just phenomenal with the kids. And it's in their home site, so the kids don't feel like it's a medical practice or it's something else that's scary. They're here, they know they can play afterwards. It's just worked out really well.
Yeah, and I suppose with kids too, there's so much change to the pieces that they wear for support and everything that has got to be looked at quite a bit.
Right, and so he's coming back. We have a clinic set up once a month, and the follow-through has been terrific. They have been just fantastic. They do their own insurance, so we don't have to deal with that, which is wonderful. And the kids really like what they're doing, and I have to say that when we first started talking with Brian, I spent 45 minutes kind of talking theory with him just to see, are we on the same page? Are we looking at the same things? And Brian doesn't just do splints for legs and feet. He works with something called plagiocephaly, where sometimes an infant's head gets a little flat and flattened out, and sometimes a helmet needs to be ordered, and some doctors are pro, some pediatricians are not so willing to try something. And so I really wanted to know where he stood in terms of his theory and how they were going to go about handling this. They've been terrific.
Well, that's good to know, and we probably watched him work a little as we're talking about this. And the other thing that's nice, as you said, the children are in a comfortable environment. They know they can play. This is a beautiful place over here. Your therapy rooms are beautiful. You've got your kind of gyms and play areas. It's quite a facility over here.
Well, I think if you asked me what was my mission statement, it would be that a child be able to succeed through play. That if it isn't fun, it's not going to work. And it might work for a little while, but then you get some drawback on that. And the children love coming here. I mean, our biggest problem really is getting the kids to leave quite often. If there's a temper tantrum, it'll happen when it's time to leave rather than coming.
You got some great stuff to play on. If I could play around, I would.
I really didn't want a medical model kind of site. I wanted it to just be warm. We see a lot of these kids for a long time, so we become an extended arm of the family. Sometimes we see the kids more often than, let's say, an aunt or an uncle might see them. So we are their support system, and we're there to help them with so many other questions that might come up, school questions. I feel that we're an advocate for the parent in school, but so many of us have had school experience that I also feel that we're really a good advocate for the schools with the parents. Sometimes parents expect too much of their school systems, and we're different animals. The therapists that work in the schools and the therapists that work, in a private clinic, we're different. We share certainly all the same motives, but the school is limited by what they're able to do legally and funding.
Well, and since you know that, like you said, you're a partner with the parents, you're a partner with all these organizations. And I certainly see the warmth and the heart as we walked in. You can see that when you walk in, especially when you see the parents who are here. They feel like they're home. They feel like it's another part of their home. So
We've even had parents who've just been sitting in the waiting room who have made friends, and they'd like to have a parent support group just from the people that have been in the waiting room, and we're trying to set that up too.
it's a wonderful organization right here in Vernon Hills, so you don't have to travel far for expert care. So thank you for taking the time. Thank you to all your staff for all you do. And if anybody wants to know more, the website is packed with information. Give a call if you're a parent that has a question. Give a call and see about that free screening and see if there's something here for you. So thank you for taking the time. Thank you for all your good work.
Thank you very much.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about some of the partnerships that are here at Therapediatrics. We heard about Midwest Orthotics. You've got a longer name to your title. Can you give us the whole company name?
Midwest Orthotic and Technology Center.
Very good. We're with Brian from that organization. And if you're over here at Therapediatrics, Brian, you come right here. You service people all over the region, but you guys come right here for the convenience of the parents. And I see you here working with the children.
Yes, correct. We come here about once a month, get on the floor with the children, the therapist, and just kind of bang.
Well, and as we talked about before we started rolling tape, the thing with children, they grow and they change. So the pieces that you make for them, you have to be checking them and adjusting them all the time. So that's your expertise for them.
Correct.
And when you come in here, I understand you guys make your own equipment, so you have every kind of thing available. Can you show some of the things that you have?
So we make orthotic devices from head to toe.
Okay.
Everything from what we would call a cranial remolding orthosis, also known as a helmet, for children with flat spots on the back of their skulls. Working on down to the spine.
Okay.
We have for kids that kind of have either scoliosis or just have a trouble posturing and sitting in an upright position. We can make these flexible devices, all custom made.
So those are made to fit the child, plus there's some room to grow, but the thought of you being here every month, I know that you're going to make sure.
Sure. We schedule routine follow-ups. The therapist is working with them usually weekly or every other week, and are providing feedback to us where we come in prepared, ready to make any adjustments that are needed.
And you guys have been around for quite a while. You've got quite a reputation, I understand?
Yep. We've been a pediatric-focused practice for a good 15 years now.
Very good. So this, like you said, you're pediatric focused. This is exactly where you want to be. And I see you in with the kids, and I can see the kids respond to you very well. So it's not like going into a clinical environment where it's a little scary. You guys get down on the floor and help them out.
Exactly. That's kind of the team approach we have. We're on the floor. We're able to see the children in a more natural environment than a kind of an institutional type setting where we're not getting a good snapshot of what's going on in the child's
saw
life.
Cooper, he responded to all you. He was here playing.
Oh, yeah.
And you could tell how everything was working. It was great.
It's almost, the toys almost distract them a little bit, but that distraction gives us a better view of what's going on.
Well, it's what a great organization you have there. It's got to be kind of warms your heart to see how well it works and see how well Cooper and all these kids are doing.
Yep. Just in the 2 months that we've been working with Cooper, dramatic changes, and it's makes coming to work very easy.
Very good, very good. Nice to meet you. Thank you for all you do. And remember, if you would like to know more about this organization, check in with Therapediatrics. They'll get you all hooked together. Thank you very much. Thanks for your time. Thanks for all your good work.
Thank you.
Well, when it comes to winter and trying to keep kids busy, Miss Linda's got some ideas right from the experts. What kind of ideas do you have for keeping kids engaged and active?
Well, with all the toys that kids have, Tupperware and wooden spoons is still the best. Pots and pans for the little ones, measuring cups, measuring spoons, they love it. That's what I go with for my grandchildren. But for winter, and when you're kind of stuck in on snow days and things like that, some of the gross motor things that you can do is maybe have the kids make a fort, throw up a sheet over a card table or something like that and have them work on, they can roll into the fort, they could do somersaults in order to get into the fort, they could do G.I. Joe crawling, pushing up against the wall, putting their feet on the wall and pushing, jumping in one spot, make a big X on the floor with some masking tape or something like that. And balloon play is great. Balloon play and ball play, and you know, can they catch a tennis ball in one hand or both hands? Can they bounce it and catch it? Anything like that to keep them busy is always a wonderful thing. For fine motor skills, again, whatever's in the house. If we imagine that these were cotton balls, since I don't have any cotton balls with me, any kind of a pincher or tongs or tweezers, whatever you have in the house that you use in the kitchen, something like this, to pick it up and then put it into, let's say, an egg carton. And they have to fill up the eggs and put them in the egg carton. Oops, and I'm doing a terrible job of that. Okay.
Well, we'll practice that.
Okay, yeah.
And you've got like little puff balls here, but like you said, cotton balls or just anything you have in the house.
Anything in the house. One of the things I like to do with the kids, one of my most favorite things is to make homemade Play-Doh. I know regular Play-Doh is great, but I love homemade Play-Doh. There's probably dozens of recipes on the internet, and it lasts for 6 weeks if you keep it refrigerated. I like to make it without any color and then take some food coloring and just put a drop or two in a little ball. And the kids have to squish and maneuver the Play-Doh until it finally turns into the color that they want. And they're really working on strengthening their fingers. Another thing that you can do, this is just a tennis ball that we cut and we made a little face in there and we put pennies in there, and there's all kinds of things that you can do with pennies. And one of the best things is, you know, stacking, being able to stack, holding more than one penny in your hand at a time, so that you've got to shake it down and then get it all the way to your fingertips and stack it that way. That's called in-hand manipulation. And then another thing that we love to do is just, it's a little messy, but you can use shaving cream, you can use chocolate pudding, tapioca, as a sensory thing and as just a fun thing to work on learning your letters, is just, you know, if you don't want a really big mess, you can do it on a cookie sheet and just spreading it around. And usually it takes a while for the kids, they want to spread it and before they'll start playing with it. For the kids that really don't like to touch anything, I'll take a little play car and we'll make roads and run it through the snow. Certainly working on their names. They can write their names like that. Just making peaks, anything to get them to do something that's tactile, kinesthetic. They can touch and feel with their hands and have a great time and actually be busy for about a half an hour so you can go do something else.
Boy, that all sounds wonderful. Thank you, Miss Linda. I'm coming to your house and I'm going to play with the shaving cream. It's going to be great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you get it? Do you want a close-up of this stuff? That was awesome. Well, we are here at Village Hall with the village manager, Mike Allison, one of our good neighbors to know for about 15 years now. And we're here with some news about what's going on with Mr. Allison. And thanks for taking a moment in this last month, because you let us know in about this past summer that you're getting ready to retire.
Yes, I am going to retire at the end of January. So it just all... It was kind of, I don't know, it's the 31st of the month, it's a Friday, just seemed the right time to retire.
And you've been in government, you've been here for 15 years, but
Right.
you've been in government a long time. You've got a lot of experience.
A long time, yeah. Over 38 years. I started in Hanover Park in 1975. If some of you remember 1975. So anyway, but I started there, and then I kind of took the tour of DuPage County. I was an administrative assistant to the manager in Hanover Park. Then I was assistant manager in Lisle in DuPage County. Then I went from Lisle to village manager in Winfield, which is in western DuPage, and then to Bensonville by the airport. Got to know all about airport issues, village manager there, and then here.
Well, how'd you get up to Lake County then? I mean, because 15 years ago, we were just kind of on that edge of the boom, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, I think In fact, he repeated it, Mayor Byrne did, in a newspaper article just yesterday, it was, about they wanted to pick a manager who worked in a mature community, because that's the direction, obviously, Vernon Hills was going, and so that's why they chose me, part of the reason they chose me 15 years ago.
Well, and it was nice, if anybody's ever been over here, Lynn Deanda, your assistant, lovely Lynn Deanda. I'm Lynn number 2 over here for sure. She came with you, so what a great package deal.
Yeah, well, actually, yeah, Sue Mahalik, who was the secretary to Larry Lash and my predecessor, she was retiring. She had announced her retirement before I came. And before I was selected, so if Sue is watching us. Anyway, but she was leaving, and so I interviewed, and of course I knew Lynn. I had worked with Lynn in Bensonville for, 7, 8 years there, and she's just great. And I think people, she'd be really embarrassed, but I'll say she is terrific. Anybody who's dealt with her, she gets things done, and she's just got a wonderful personality, and she's just a great human being.
She's unflappable in all circumstances and gets it done. Well, let's talk about when you first came here, because you said we were going to eventually be a mature community, but 15 years ago, you've seen a lot of things happen. TIF districts and Nike sites and all kinds of things.
Right. Yeah, I think Greg's Landing, for example, was probably only about 10% built in '98. It had started. Many of these things that happen here were started already, but I was here and able to work with people on the finishing out of different places. And obviously, Greg's Landing isn't quite finished, but it's finished from a subdivision standpoint. There's still lots to be built on and that. But that's always exciting, and to me, it was exciting for me. Winfield was a developing community when I was manager there. So having the combination of a maturing community and some of the issues that you have with that, property maintenance issues and public infrastructure issues, that's interesting. But then also the newness and dealing with people that are excited to come to the community, a new house, a new subdivision. That's fun also.
Well, and you did a lot. There was a lot of the business sector that changed a lot too. The corporate woods, the corporate areas filled up. You had the TIF districts. You've got retail.
Right. Yeah, and and I got to pay credit. Since I'm leaving, I can really be honest, which hopefully I always am honest. But the board has, we did not have to do sales tax incentives in Vernon Hills, because we're really, the mecca, so to speak, the focal point for retail, as you just alluded to, in South Lake County. But the board saw it, and that happened with Children's Hospital of Wisconsin, that wanted to take over the former Circuit City building, which is now Tiger Direct. But the whole idea of going to a non-retail use, the board saw that a policy they had for many years and made a lot of sense at the time. They had only done one agreement before that. They said we need to look at sales tax agreements to incentivize retailers to come, and they did that, and we've done ones in various places in Mariano's, Gordman's. And we just mentioned Tiger Direct with the former Circuit City. And there's ones at Hawthorne Hills. There's a number of them that we've done. And I give full credit to the board, because it's tough when you've done something for many, many years in a way, and you haven't had to address those issues, just to almost, this is an overstatement, but turn on a dime and say, now we're going to do them because we know we need to do them, and we need to keep a healthy retail sector. And they really did do that. And you can see, I think, that, and the one I didn't mention, the big one, is, of course, Westfield Hawthorne. And that's happening as we speak. And they say in March, Dave & Buster's will be open. So I just saw one of the people from Dave & Buster's a couple days ago.
Well, and that's the kind of thing, too. That's been a long-term, lots of conversations, a lot of people involved. These things don't happen overnight. They take quite a bit of time to play out, and so you've had quite a team, I know.
Right. Oh, absolutely. And the people, my successor, I just mentioned my predecessor, my successor, John Kalmar, the current assistant village manager, he was instrumental in working through those agreements I mentioned. And he did a lot of work on the TIF district, and that's the town center, very successful down there with the retail and residential mix down there. So it's exciting. And you know, you mentioned Lynn, I mentioned John, but the Chief Mark Fleischauer, Dave Brown, before Mike Atkinson and Building Commissioner Vernon Girth, Dave's predecessor Ed Lauenslager, just a lot of great people. The staff is just tremendous here, and I think the village board is very, very supportive of all of us, and I think that's so helpful to in the progress of a community.
Well, and when you talk about community, fast-growing, somewhat transient. It isn't like an established community like some older ones, but yet you've been able to help be kind of the forefront of fostering some of that community feel. You've been involved in all of these different charity events and special events, and I know that's been an important part of your feel for what the village should be about.
Thank you. I hope that's true. You know, it's interesting you mention that, and we do hear from now people, I've lived here for 25 years, or I've lived here for 33 years, or I've lived here, you know, so I do hear that quite a bit now. And that's a great thing, because people, especially as you know, in the Deer Path area, there's people who have lived here for over 30 years, you know, well over 30 years. So, yeah, a sense of community, working with people, helping people. I think you get that sense. My wife and I went to see a play at Vernon Hills High School. We went to the first one ever done there. That was in, I think, probably 99 maybe, Anne Frank. That was very good. And this, the last one we saw was Bye Bye Birdie. And that was just a few months ago. And you sense the, you know, the whole sense of community, you know, people there. Where we live in Vernon Hills, we happen to be in the Stevenson High School District, but, you know, there's so many things in Vernon Hills that have created this community. And we were just there at the Park District and the high schools and the grade schools, and you get that whole sense. And like you said, the community events that you do, the charitable events, American Cancer Society, the Alzheimer's Association, that type of thing.
Well, in those kinds of events, it does take leadership to see that as important and help bring it so that everybody can do those things. So thank you for making those things priorities.
Thanks. Well, yeah, and as you know, some of the events that work to help that sense of community too. I've been involved in the summer celebration, and I got to mention that the volunteers for that, people, and I always say this, but I'll say it again because it's worth repeating, the time they take, all the volunteers, the past volunteers, the current volunteers, it's tremendous. It's not just that 4 days that people put in whatever it is, 12, 14, 16 hours a day. It's also the hours and hours. Well, we're going to meet next week, for example, and this is December. So we're meeting all year round. And those are, it's, you know, someone said to me, one of my colleagues, it's really the people you're going to miss. And that is really true. I mean, it's enjoyable getting things done and doing things, but working with a team, that's what's enjoyable.
Well, and you have had quite a team here and the community behind you all the way. And with that, we hope do you have any plans for the future? Or are you just going to take it a day at a time and see what happens? Or
I was supposed to plan for the future? Oh, no, my goodness. Well, no, I don't know. Well, my mother is still living in Florida. We'll go down there for a little while, probably, and then we're going to go out west maybe for a little while and see. As my wife said, it's an adventure, so we'll see what kind of adventure it is.
I've got a list of stuff if you get bored, so we'll keep you busy.
After I get my garage done and my attic, then we'll go over to your house.
Mike Allison's organizing service. It'll be great. So, well, thank you so much for all you've done for our community for the last 15 years. Best wishes in the future, and we know you'll be around, so we'll still be bothering you for stuff. But thank you.
Thank you.
Well, that wraps up this edition of the Vernon Hills Update. If you have comments or suggestions, please contact Mike Storto at 847-918-3560 or email mikes@thehills.org. Thank you for tuning in to the Vernon Hills Update.